when I, yeah, so when we say check-in, what comes to our mind typically is we check in at an airport, we check in a hotel where we say, okay, here are my documents, here is my ticket, here's my luggage, and I'm ready for the experience. So let's start with a check-in. A check-in question is simple, and the session is about emotions. How are you feeling right now? So if you can just put it in the chat and let me read it. How are you feeling right now? Good, okay. Inquisitive, okay. Excited, excited. Tired, okay. Excited. Okay. Feeling calm, feeling calm. Too much pressure, okay. Feeling happy, okay. Learning, looking forward to learn some more, okay. Feeling good, excited in a learning mode, curious. Okay, okay. So the word of the day is excited, learning, wonderful, wonderful. I am feeling happy. I'm feeling excited too to be here with all of you doing this session. So, so when we talk of emotions and we talk empowerment, you know, sometimes people say, or even I've wondered, when I think emotion, sometimes I don't think the word empowerment. I think the word powerless. So is it powerless or is it empowered? Because emotions can sometimes make us powerless and we are at the mercy of our emotions. Our behavior is at the mercy of our emotions. And there are times when we can actually get empowered because of our emotions. In today's session, we're going to discuss both. When does it happen that we get powerless and we're at the mercy and we don't even know what, I don't even know what I'm saying or doing? And when is it that I can really become empowered? When can I use my emotions as a way to guide my actions towards what I really want? So we're going to look at both the aspects of emotions today, more so of the later, more so of the empowerment. So let's talk about why I'm trying to move the screen. Yeah. Why?
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. So why are we talking EQ today? Why are we talking emotional intelligence today? Why is it such a big subject? So when I started my career, so as Sai has said, I started my career in 1991. And in 1991, EQ, emotional intelligence, were not part of the corporate vocabulary. We never talked empathy. We never talked emotional intelligence. But now I find that for the last few years, many corporates have got emotional intelligence as a part of the competency framework. It is a requirement of leaders to exhibit emotional intelligence, to demonstrate empathy. And in that sense, I think things have really changed for the better. So, why is it so important? This actually takes me to the person who brought emotional intelligence in the corporate world, and that is a gentleman called Daniel Goleman. Daniel Goleman wrote a book called Working with Emotional Intelligence way back in 1986, in the late 80s. And that's the time that slowly emotional intelligence as a subject started. Oh, there is a place for it in the corporates also. Emotions have a place in corporate also. That got reinforced through his book. What really was landmark and breakthrough about that book is he did a lot of research with covered thousands of leaders across thousands of organizations to discover what is it that makes uh, certain leaders really stand out in terms of their leadership capabilities than the others. So what makes from good to great? And entire research showed that it was largely the emotional competencies that were the differentiators. It is not that IQ is not important. IQ is, of course, important. IQ helps you with knowledge, with analytical skills, logical, reasoning, memory. But what really differentiates is how do I handle setback? How do I handle failure? How do I motivate myself? How do I motivate my team when they are struggling? How do I influence people who don't agree with me? How do I take a diverse group of people together in one direction? So these were some of the competencies that he identified and said these competencies are the differentiators, and these competencies are what we need in the workplace. In today's day and age, emotions are also closely linked with health. You look at any conversation on health, it's not only about your exercising or your food, it's also about, are you are you managing your emotional health? So emotions and health also have a very big role to play. It's not just the workplace, so it's your health, it's your relationships, it impacts all parts of your life. It in fact improves quality of your decisions at the workplace, in relationships, your eating habits, everything. So EQ matters, and we're going to talk about this. The reason why we talk about EQ more is because our entire education system is focused on IQ. It's all about memorizing. So you memorize, and you write down. You do your logical thinking, you do your analytical thinking. But do you know what? Beyond a point, IQ cannot be increased. We're all born with a certain IQ. With some practice, with some learning, it can go up a little bit. But essentially, the IQ is what it is. But the very interesting research is that EQ can be learned. EQ can be grown. With awareness, with practice, we can really grow our emotional intelligence. And that's the reason why we should learn it, because if I learn it, if I practice it, I can really get better at it. So let's just dive right in. Let me give you a fill in the blank question. When you hear the word emotions and you have to complete it, what are emotions? Emotions are, can you please chat and just share with me what you think emotions are? They are thoughts, they are feelings, they're endless, okay? They are complicated. They are feelings, they are sensations. They are your inner self, okay? They are your personal connections, reflections of the mind, inner personality. Mm-hmm. What are emotions to you? What does when you hear the word? They're connections, volatile, okay, depending on the situation. They're feelings, they are complex, okay, they're mental reactions. Mm-hmm. Some more emotions are, I'm sure you never answered this, my response to circumstances, behavior, index to mind. Okay, index to mind. Great, great, great. Wonderful. Let me share, okay, all of you have shared a lot of your thoughts. Let me share with you from my side what emotions are. Okay. Moving the screen a little difficult. Okay, let's keep it simple. Emotions are one word. Anything which is more than one word is not your emotion. So I say to somebody, so what are you feeling? And the person says, how can he do like this? He promised that he will send it to me day before yesterday. And when I called him up today, he's behaving as though, okay, this is not your feeling. So anything which is long-winded goes on, yeah, endless, those are your thoughts. That's your chatter. Typically, emotion is just one word: angry, anxious, disappointed, excited. Yeah. So all the words that you wrote there were largely emotion. They were all one word. Yeah. So there were some of you were like, somebody was tired. Yes, tired is emotion. Yeah. So I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling excited. Oh, why did the session happen today? I have so much work to do. I wish it was happening tomorrow. Okay, that is not your emotion. That is your thought. Yeah. So one of the important things when learning emotional intelligence is to be able to differentiate, is this my emotion? Is this my thought? Because they are two different things. Thoughts are in the mind. It's a chatter. It's a conversation inside. And an emotion is an energy. It's an energy in motion. So typically, every emotion is an energy that visits you, and it's in motion, it goes away. So let's say that, I was giving an exam and I got my result and I passed. So as I was saying, I completed my Sangeet Visharad and I opened the website. Oh, I passed. So I'm delighted and happy. And that there's an energy, there's a surge of happiness. But does that surge of happiness remain, you know, forever? No. Slowly it just subsides. It's an energy that has come in and energy that has left my body. So essentially, emotions are an energy and an energy which is in motion. Every emotion is essentially a body sensation. Hmm? Excitement is felt in the body. Anger is felt in the body. Grief is felt in the body. Happiness, joy is felt in the body. Every emotion is essentially a body sensation. Every emotion is associated with a body sensation. So when I used to go for my music class, my teacher is, well, she's old school, old and very senior learner teacher. And she'd say, okay, come and sing and start the Tanpura. And it's Pune, it is 10 degrees and I'm wearing a sweater. And the minute I start my Tanpura, I start to sweat. And I'm like, I'm feeling very hot. Can I switch on the fan? And my teacher says, it's not hot, it's 10 degrees. You are just scared. Just move on, just start singing. Fear for me plays out as sweat, as fingers are getting wet or palm. Sometimes there's shivering in the body. Every emotion is essentially a body sensation. It's neither good nor bad. How can energy be good or bad? It's just an energy. It's an energy which has visited you. Every emotion is a visitor that visits you and leaves. It's neither good nor bad. And let me give you the biggest insight for the day. So when I do workshops on EI, this is where people are like, really? So emotions are data.
Emotional intelligence
Okay, so emotions are data. What is data? What are kind of world? Okay, so I see the Sensex has gone up. So what's happening to my portfolio? Okay, that's data. Okay, there are some traffic diversions around university area. Okay, that is data. The temperature today is so and so. Okay, that is data. It's probably going to rain at this time. That's data. Emotions is something like that. It's data. It's nothing but data. It is a resource available to you, given to you by nature. So I'll just pause here for you to kind of soak in, because emotion as data is something that we don't associate emotions as data. Yeah. And data is something so useful. So if or data is where I'm driving and the indicator shows that the petrol as, the indicator on the lower side. It's data. Is it good or bad? No, I'm inconvenienced for sure. So it's tough. Maybe, that data is coming to me at a time when I have to head for a meeting. So maybe it's a little difficult. Maybe it's a little tough. Maybe it's a little messy, but it's data nevertheless, because now I have to take action because I have data. I have to take action with that data. So every emotion is essentially data, and data that is telling you something. So emotions essentially are data points which tell you something about yourself. Yeah. So, and we're going to dwell a lot about this because the entire premise of intelligence, emotions being intelligent and emotional intelligence being able to empower us, is basis this insight that emotions are data that tell us something about ourselves. So somebody that promised me something 3 days back, and today when I ask is, what did I really say that? I go into let us say I become angry or I get upset. That's a data point because that is telling me something about myself. Yeah. So we're going to spend more time on what does our emotion really tell us about ourselves. In this case, this emotion is telling me that what is important for me is, yeah, being responsible, being honest, and to say that yes, I did share with you and I have not completed. So for me, what is important is honesty. What is important is responsibility, and that value is not getting met. My value is not getting met, therefore I'm getting angry. So emotions as a source of data. Let's move forward. And we're going to talk more about this. Let me ask you a question. How many emotions do you know? Give me a number. So let's say, okay, no, okay, 4, 5. So just give me a number. How many emotions do you know? 10. Okay. Maybe you're thinking which are the emotions and you're counting them. Okay, 15, 8. Okay, 8. Okay, 12, 12. 6, 7. Okay, okay. Can you write down those emotions for me? Can you name those emotions? Just name them at what are the emotions you know? So you said 6, you said 7, some said 10, some said 15. Just start to type. What are the emotions? Sad, happy, okay. Happiness, happy, anger, fear. Happy, anger, fear, yes. Depression, grief, can't say, there are just so many. There is jealousy, there is sad, there is feeling low, anger, joy, okay. Excitement, irritated, flustered, motivated, anxious, surprised, terror, okay, terror, okay. So these are all the emotions that we are listing. Yeah, being shy, I'm feeling shy, yes. Feeling blissful, yes, that's an emotion. So there are so many emotions. And do you know how many emotions there are? So there is research, and I'm going to quote Brené Brown, who is the latest thinker on emotional intelligence, and she says she recounts a total of 87 emotions. So in her book Atlas of the Heart, she says there are 87 emotions. And if when I started this work myself, I used to not even count more than 10 or 15 emotions. And that really takes us to the point as, if we, out of the 87, let's take 87 as a number. If 87 is the number, and let us say I know only 20 emotions, then how can I use them intelligently? Because if my data is incomplete, then how can I be intelligent? How can I use it intelligently? So imagine a vocabulary where you have 26 alphabets, going from A to Z, and you have 7 vowels, and I say, but I know only 10 alphabets, then I will not be able to read or write or communicate effectively. So in effect, we typically say, and even Brené Brown says that many of us are really emotionally illiterate. We are illiterate because we have never been taught about emotions. So we learn reading, we learn writing, we learn arithmetic, but we never learn about emotions. Nobody ever tells us that emotions are also intelligent, can be a source of intelligence for us. So important to be able to know all the emotions and to have the entire emotions directory and say, okay, there are so many emotions. And for me to be able to use the data, I should know all these emotions, not just cognitively, ki haan, ye word pata hai, not like that, but I experience when like shyness. Okay, this is what shyness is for me. Blissful. Yeah, I know the word blissful, but when I feel blissful, this is what it is for me. Or when I feel nervous, this is what nervous is for me. So it's important to have a complete, you need to be completely literate by knowing all the emotions that are there, because these are our emotions that we have to uh, work with and use intelligently. So here, let me give you the definition of emotional intelligence by Daniel Goleman. He is the person who actually brought emotional intelligence as a concept into the corporate world. He says the ability to understand your emotions. So to understand my emotion, what am I feeling, and that of others. So what are others feeling? The person that I'm talking to, what is that person feeling? So to understand my emotion, to understand the emotion of the other person, and to then respond appropriately. That is emotional intelligence. So the three key components is know your emotions, know the emotion of the other person, and respond appropriate to what is required in the moment to get whatever task is to be done or whatever job has got to be done. So this is the definition of emotional intelligence. So how do you build it? So, okay, this is good to say. How do you build it? So I'm going to give you maybe 5 steps to building emotional intelligence. And let me go to the first step. The first step is to be able to identify what is the emotion that I'm feeling right now. Right now, what am I feeling? It is very, very important to know that. Because if I don't know what I am feeling, then it's not data for me. Then how can I work with it? So it's like I can't read whether the petrol is more or less. So if I can't read that, I don't know what action to take. It's very, very important to have self-awareness. It's important to identify your emotion as it occurs in the moment. Self-awareness is the first step, first important key step of emotional intelligence, is to be able to say, this is what I'm feeling. It's important to identify why. So for example, people say, why is it so important to identify? I can just say, there are 87 emotions, and that's it. I'm saying I'm angry. But anger is actually like a continuum. So you have rage, you have fury, you have anger, you have annoyance, and you have irritation. So it's actually, it's a complete continuum. So what are you feeling? Are you feeling furious? Are you feeling angry, or are you just feeling annoyed? It's important to be able to mark that fine difference. So some people say, why is it so important? इतना क्या है? उसमें क्या होगा? The question is that if we say tomorrow that why should I learn all the alphabets? If V and W is the same, then will I be able to use language effectively? No. Then for victory, I'll say WICOT, or फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. It is still, people will still call it victory. But we don't do that. We use the V. Same here. बहुत फर्क पड़ता है. And we're going to learn that more and more as to why being accurate about how you're feeling is very important. So are you feeling, what are you really feeling? Let me give you an example that there was a friend of mine who, we have, all of us have WhatsApp groups, right? So where people keep sharing a lot. So I have this friend who will keep on, sending stuff, 15 photos. This is what I did. And this is, I choreographed this dance and I went here on a holiday. And I find that I'm getting angry. I'm like, I'm getting angry. Why is she posting so many pictures? And my thinking is, okay, I'm angry because anger is available to me immediately. Immediately, I'm like, okay, I'm angry because that's a emotion I know. Then I say, wait, am I really angry with her? Because what is the harm? She's sending it. I can jolly well ignore it. So what am I really feeling? What am I really feeling? And I realized that I'm not feeling angry. I'm actually feeling jealous. I'm very jealous of her. And it's data. It's neither good nor bad. So, okay, I'm jealous of her. Why am I jealous of her? I'm jealous of her because there's something that she has that I don't, and I want to have that. So is it that she's having a lot of fun and I need to have more fun in my life? Or is it that she's getting a lot of, hey, great job? Is she getting a lot of recognition and I want that recognition? What is it? What is it? What is it? And I realized it was jealousy. It was not anger. And it's important to be able to pinpoint what you're feeling. It's crucial. It's important next to label the emotion. This is what I'm feeling. Research says that when you are able to label your emotion accurately, it reduces the rawness of the emotion, because some emotions are very raw. In fact, all emotions are raw. But when you label it, okay, I'm feeling jealous and I'm, you know what, I need to have more fun in my life. It just it just brings down the intensity, and you're able to deal with it as a data point better. So label the emotion, it reduces, it calms you down, because, okay, this is what I'm feeling, I got it. And remember the saying, if you can name it, you can tame it. So if I keep thinking it is anger and anger and anger, well, it's not anger in the first place. So I can't really tame it. So I have a data point. I don't even, it's an incorrect data point. So how am I ever going to work with it? So it's important that I sit with it for a while. What is it that I'm really feeling? And name it and label it to myself. Right now, we are only working with ourselves. So the first important step of emotional intelligence is to be able to identify what you're feeling in the moment. And for that to happen accurately, we have to be able to be more literate. So just know the whole variety of emotions. And the exercise that we give to many of our participants, in fact, to all participants, is do emotional journaling. So we give them a list of emotions and we say, at the end of the day, just tick mark. Oh, today I felt jealous. Today I felt angry. Today I felt depressed for a while. Today I felt excited. Today I felt despair. Today I felt helpless. Okay, journaling. And let's say we give you a list of 87, and there comes a point you say, okay, I'm able to experience all 87, and I'm able to differentiate between annoyance and irritation, anger and fury. I am able to differentiate. And then you know that your awareness is at a high level, and you've already crossed that first level to go to the next step. So awareness is crucial. What's also interesting, and this is a model from Brené Brown, and she says that a lot of times, no, the first emotion that comes up is anger. So, for example, I so work with a lot of leaders in the industry through workshops and coaching, and they say, "Oh, I get so angry all the time, and I have to send something to top management, and they send it to me one day before with a lot of errors, and I just go angry." I'm like, "Is it really anger, or what is it?" And as we start talking, we realize that it's not anger; it's fear. They're scared. They're they really fear that, what am I going to do now? I only have so many hours left, and I've committed to my boss that this data I'm going to send. So there is fear. Sometimes embarrassment also comes out as anger. So I'm going up there to present something, and there's a water bottle, and I'm clumsy, and I just push the bottle down, and there's water on the floor, and I'm embarrassed. But that embarrassment to me is not embarrassment. It comes out as anger. Who kept this bottle here? How did this? Actually, it's embarrassment, but it comes out as anger. Brené Brown says that out of the 87 emotions that she has counted, 20 of them sometimes show up as anger. Anger is very often, she says, is just the starting point. Look beneath that. And this I'm sharing because this is about awareness. When you are feeling anger, oh, I feel angry. Oh, this Uber driver keeps canceling. I booked and canceled. Is it anger, or are you irritated? Are you anxious? Are you feeling stressed? What is it? Sometimes you get conflicting. Acha, ye karna hai, nahi, wo karna hai, then I get angry. Are you really angry, or are you confused? Important to differentiate. Why? Because research shows that anger, it's is easy to identify, number one, because our vocabulary is restricted. Secondly, it is more socially acceptable to say anger rather than say I'm angry, rather than to say I was really disappointed in myself. It's difficult to say. It's easy to say I'm angry with myself, because it's it anger comes up with some confidence. It's like macho to say I'm angry. To say I was really hurt. I am really hurt. Even to say to yourself, sometimes difficult to own certain feelings of hurt, of pain, of humiliation, and showing it as anger is easy. So one of the tips to take, and I use this a lot, is when you are feeling angry, just open it. Is it really anger, or is it anxiety? Is it anger, or am I just guilty? What is it? So behind anger, what's help you to identify what is really that emotion, to be able to pinpoint. Here are some emotions, right? So there's angry, there's fear, there's awe. So when I see, when it's been raining and I see a big rainbow on the beautiful sky, I feel awestruck. I feel wonder. When I see somebody spitting on the road, I feel disgust. I don't feel angry. I feel disgust. So am I able to differentiate? I'm not angry. I'm disgusted. How can you do that? I'm happy. At the lunch, I went for lunch and there was my favorite gulab jamun. I was so happy. I'm at peace because it's a Saturday afternoon and I've had my nice lunch and there's nothing else that I have to do. There's no to-do lists. Am I happy? Am I peaceful? I think I'm peaceful. Um, Sadness. We all know sadness. I'm puzzled. There's some missing piece. I'm not able to understand. There's a missing piece here. Puzzled. Jealous. Yeah. I'm disturbed. I'm really disturbed. Anxious. Anxiety. I'm hurt. Am I hurt or am I really anxious? Am I confused or am I really hurt? Outrage. Having a sense of outrage is different from feeling angry, is different from feeling confused. Panic. So once I was doing a session and I was giving an exam, actually. It was an online exam, international exam. And we could actually go and give it in a center or we could do it from home. So I did it from home. And there were some complex instructions, do this. And I started to panic. And in my panic, my mobile fell from my hand. And then my Aadhaar card fell from my hand. I couldn't find. It was panic. It was not disturbed. I was not anxious. It was beyond. I was in a panic mode because nothing was going right. So why do I share this? Awareness in the moment. Padmaja, you are panicking. You are panicking because things are just falling from your hands. Gratitude. I'm grateful to be doing this session. Surprise. Embarrassed. These are just few emotions. There are 87 emotions to be able to say, okay, when do I feel this emotion? Another thing is to be able to link an emotion with a body sensation. When I'm disturbed, what happens? When I'm embarrassed, I cringe. When I panic, what happens? When I panic, I completely lose control over my fingers. When there's fear, what happens? Fear typically rests, they say, fear rests in the gut. It's a stomach thing. So either there is a nausea, vomiting, sometimes there's like a diarrhea, or sometimes it's a parched throat. Sometimes it's sweat. So each one of us is different. And one way to identify an emotion is also able to identify, okay, this body sensation is this emotion. One way to go is this emotion is this body sensation. Second is this body sensation is this emotion. And why is this important? Because we have to get our data right. If we don't get our data right, we cannot solve the problem. We cannot say that, okay, I am going to be intelligent. No, I cannot use it because I don't even have my data right in the first place. So I will find it difficult to really use it intelligently. It cannot be a source of empowerment. Content is another one. It's another interesting tip I want to leave you with about emotion. And this is again another thought leader of a big thought leader of emotional intelligence. Her name is Dr. Susan David from Harvard. Her book Emotional Agility is it's a success. She says that language changes perspective. I am angry. So I am angry is like a fog that is enveloping me. That, okay, it's overwhelming me. It is like consuming me, this anger. And she says, change the language to, I notice I am angry. So you're putting a distance from that anger. That emotion is not you. That emotion is a data that is surfaced. So the minute you tell yourself, Padmaja is saying, I notice that I'm panicking. And suddenly I have a perspective. I put a distance between me and my anger, me and my panic, me and my grief. I put a distance. And I'm able to now have a better perspective. So she says, Susan David says that, look at it as, clouds in the sky. Oh, okay, I am feeling. So one cloud is like dark. There's grief there. There is sadness. There is guilt. But I am looking at it. I am not that sadness. That sadness is out there, which I see. So she says that if you even change the language, that so first identifying the emotion and then labeling it and then using a language which actually helps you to calm down and helps you to be less overwhelmed by that emotion. And how do you do that? A big part of saying, I notice I am getting angry. I notice that I'm starting to sweat on my forehead. This is called mindfulness. We all know mindfulness is a huge concept which is popular all over the world, especially in leadership. There are 3-day retreats for global leaders only on mindfulness. And what is mindfulness? Being present in the moment, paying attention in a focused way without any judgment. I notice. Right now, I notice I'm angry. I notice that my face is getting red, that my ears are starting to ring. I notice right now without any judgment of right and wrong. It's very important to be able to do that. And we also run a lot of mindfulness courses, but in my view, mindfulness and emotional intelligence go hand in hand. Without being fully in the moment, we are not able to discover what is that body sensation, what is that emotion, and to say it. I notice I'm getting angry. I notice that I'm feeling sad, and that actually I'm feeling, kind of contracted because of my sadness. That's important. So that's a very, we can choose our language, because when we change our language, it can change our world. That's about awareness. Let me come to the next one on acceptance. So the second step is acceptance. Accept your emotion without labeling it as good or bad, positive or negative. Important that we are aware what it is that we are accepting. So let us say that we have got it right. I am feeling guilty, or I am feeling grief, or I'm feeling awestruck, I'm feeling wonder. Neither good nor bad. It just is. It's a data point. It's a data point. It's an energy. Neither positive nor negative. But you know what? It's easier said than done. Why? Because we have grown up listening to, you should not feel jealous. It is not good. You should never feel jealous of your friends. It's no, 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 don't feel sad. No, everybody's enjoying. You should also enjoy. You should not feel this way. This is not good. So there's a lot of social conditioning that we have around not feeling a certain way, and certain feelings being bad, certain feelings being negative. Uh, it's just a part of our growing up and our subconscious. The other part is that society today is there's so much of false positivity, right? Always, how are you feeling? I'm feeling great. I'm feeling amazing. It's like, no, actually, I'm not. I'm feeling miserable. I'm not having a good day. I'm having a lot of doubt. But you can't say that, because that's not what is expected. Expected it to be positive all the time, confident, joyous all the time. And somebody will say, hey, don't feel sad. Huh? Move on. Bahut ho gaya abhi. Rona dhona bahut ho gaya. Abhi move on. This move on is actually ignoring or denying or minimizing. Don't feel sad. If you find somebody saying, don't feel sad here, just get up. Let's have fun. So attempting to minimize, ignore, or deny emotions serves to amplify them. This is research which says that if you're feeling a certain way, and you know that you are feeling a certain way, but actually, no, I'm not feeling sad. It's okay. I'm not jealous here. I'm really happy for her. Yes, you can be jealous and you can be happy for her both. So only accepting I'm happy for her and that jealous is bad, so I deny it, actually amplifies. This is research. So when we say certain emotions, not, so shame, guilt, these are emotions that we say, no, no, these are not good. These are not good emotions. You should get out of them as fast as possible. No, because if you minimize them, I'm not feeling this way, or ignore them or deny them, they will amplify. They will amplify over time. So very, very important to accept your emotions without any judgment, without any judgment whatsoever. It's not easy, but if we want to be emotionally intelligent, that is something that we have to do. And we have to accept our own emotions. It's energy, it's a data, accepting it. Even more interesting, unacknowledged emotions will never die. They don't die. So just because I've not acknowledged it, I've denied it, I've minimized it, they don't die. They are buried alive. Remember, their body sensations, so they are in the body. It's an energy which is going from the body, and I'm denying it. So I'm suppressing that energy in my body. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways. And that is why emotions and health go together. Why? Because, and what is ugly? It comes out at the wrong place, completely at the wrong place. Somebody who's unaware, what happened? What happened to you? With the wrong person, at the wrong place, in a completely inappropriate manner. And something that we all know, it comes up in health problems. It comes up in what we call as the modern psychosomatic disorders like back pain, lower back pain, blood pressure, migraines. A lot of these are diabetes. A lot of these are actually emotions which are playing out, which have been buried alive, which have been denied, which have not been accepted and embraced by you. Those energies are suppressed and they come out in uglier ways. And whenever I do this session, I mean, this line is like, this is a big one. This is a big one. And this is research says this. So acknowledging emotions is key. Good or bad, their data, no data is good or bad. So just call it a data point. Some emotions, visit you for longer. So some emotions visit you for a shorter time. You just feel that way, and the next moment it's something else. And there are some emotions that are with you for longer. So stay with it for longer. So the minute you have accepted it and telling yourself, I notice that I'm feeling this way, you have accepted it, and that visitor is ready to move on. All these are not cognitive. This is to be experienced. This is to be followed in our lives to really see how magic can happen. So so about unacknowledged emotions don't really die. Unacknowledged are emotions which are um, denied, minimized, ignored. I'm not feeling this way. I'm feeling very happy. I've moved on here. I've moved on. When your body has not moved on, when that emotion is still within you because you have not accepted it and embraced it fully. The third step of emotional intelligence is self-regulation. So when I say regulation, what comes to our mind is a fan regulator, right? So a fan regulator goes from 1 to, it goes from 1 to 5. What are you regulating here? You're not regulating the emotion. You are regulating the expression of that emotion. So for instance, I'm feeling, let us say I'm in a meeting, I'm making a presentation, and somebody makes a remark in the room, which I find very hurtful during the presentation. So what do I do? First of all, in the moment, what am I feeling? What am I feeling? I'm feeling hurt. It's neither good or bad. I've accepted that. And now you have to express that emotion. How do you express it? Do you not say anything to say, okay, let me deal with this later? Or do you actually burst out crying or shouting or something like that? The biggest part of emotional intelligence that people can see, that the world can see, is the regulation. Are you somebody who can regulate the expression of your emotion? I will be able to regulate my expression only if I have identified what it is, I have identified the body sensation, and I have accepted it. It's neither right nor wrong. It's neither good nor bad. It's a data point. Okay, Padmaja, you're hurt. This person has said something which is maybe questioning your competence. and which you think is really not fair. So how do you actually express that feeling of hurt in the moment is your choice. There's a very interesting concept in regulation, because when we say emotions are messy and people say, I've been told this in my career, Padmaja, you should leave your emotions out of the door and then only come inside. Okay. And that time I did not know. And I thought, okay, maybe I should be doing that. I should be leaving my emotions outside the door. But today I realize that you can't do that, because it's emotions, the body sensation. So if I walk in, my emotions are walking in. And those are data points that nature or Mother Nature has given me to help myself. So what happens is, when I talk about emotions making us powerless, sometimes have been also in situations where I have given very inappropriate responses, or yelled or shouted or sulked when sulking was completely the wrong thing to do. Little bit about brain science, just 5 minutes on that, as to how that really happens. So in the brain, this is a human brain here. So it's in a highly simplified form. You have the blue part, which is the neocortex, which is the part which is what makes us human actually. So that's the part that helps us to think and say, okay, if you do this right now, this may happen. Maybe this is not the right time. So helps you to look at consequences, helps us to analyze from what's right and what's wrong, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. The green part is your limbic brain, which is the emotional brain. And the gray part is the reptilian brain. The reptilian brain is the youngest. I mean, it is, I'm rather say the oldest, but grows by the time you're about 18 months old. The green part, which is your emotional brain, completely develops by the time you're about 5 or 6 years old, and neocortex is 25, by the time you're 25 years old. In the green part, in the limbic part, there are two chota glands of the size of almonds. They are called amygdalas. So nature has given amygdalas to the human being. Why? To protect us for survival. So whenever there's danger outside, your amygdala picks up that danger and says, danger, danger, danger. And your amygdala starts to get hijacked. The word is hijack. It's called the hijacker within, and completely starts to put all those stress hormones all over your body. Yeah. So, for example, if I'm touching something hot, immediately amygdala, oh, it's hot, I take my hand away. So the amygdala is there to protect me. Or if I'm walking and a car is coming, I immediately move away, because I know that I have to protect myself. The amygdala is something to help me, but uh, the amygdala, while is a friend and is like a security guard, is not a very intelligent friend. So my amygdala is not able to differentiate between, okay, is this a life-threatening situation, or is this just somebody in office whom I'm talking to is looking at their laptop. So I am gone in for a conversation with my boss or with a stakeholder, and I'm talking, and that person is not even looking up at me. So my amygdala senses danger. My amygdala is not able to differentiate, this is not a life-threatening situation. Amygdala gets hijacked. Amygdala knows only three things: either fight, or flight, or freeze. And this is where we become powerless. This is where our emotions overpower us, overwhelm us, and we are swamped by that emotion. And we say, oh my God, emotions are such a messy thing. I wish I was not so emotional. I wish I was less emotional. But it's not that. The amygdala hijacks everybody. It's just that what do you do with it? And we're going to come to that next. But let's look at this first. So either I fight, I am talking to you, why can't you look up? Okay, so there's a fight, or there's a flight. You just walk away, and person says, what happened? You just came to talk to me, right? No, my amygdala got hijacked and I went into a flight mode, or I freeze. So somebody is saying something to me or getting upset with me, raising their voice, and I freeze. I just don't know what to say in that moment. I should say this, I should say that, I should say this. Nothing. It's just like complete numbness. There's so many things that come to you later. Why didn't I say this? Why didn't I say that? But here, our amygdala is hijacked, giving us only 3 possible reactions, either fight or flight or freeze, or sometimes fight and then flight. Yeah. So you fight, you say what you have to say, and then you flight or flight. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. So you go to the room and you bang the door. Yeah. Okay. So that's a flight. Or you cut the phone, flight. Or a freeze is just standing there or being on the call, not being able to respond, not being able to say anything. That's a hijack. It's called the hijacker within. So what has that got to do with regulation? Everything, everything. Our ability to regulate our emotions depends completely on this whole thing about amygdala and the amygdala hijack. How usko shant karna hai? We have to quieten our amygdala, because our amygdala is out there, and when the amygdala is hijacked, the stress hormones of cortisol and adrenaline are all released in the body, and we can only flight or fight. And then we are in the state of saying and doing things which we regret later. I think all of you will agree that all of you have been, I have been in situations that I have really regretted what I have said or done or not done. Later I said, no, I should not have said that. It was out of line. I should not have done that. It was completely unacceptable. Why does that happen? It happens because of the amygdala. So what do you do then? Are we at the mercy of the amygdala? No, we are not. So the emotionally intelligent people are not. So what's the trick here? The trick here is to take a pause. When your amygdala is hijacked and you are getting angry, getting upset, getting sad, and all you want to do is cry, and you're sitting in front of a meeting with your bosses, you believe you can't cry there. So what do? Take a pause. Sit quiet. And what is the duration of the pause? 6 seconds. So the 6 seconds is not what I am saying. This is not my discovery. 6 seconds is what neuroscience says that when our amygdala is hijacked, and believe me, we know when we are hijacked, right? We just know in the moment that, okay, now I'm now going, as people say, I lose it. So like one friend recently I went to meet, and she said, Padmaja, I just lost it. Yeah, you just lost it. That is a hijack. So when you realize that you are losing it, take a pause. Take a pause of 6 seconds, because neuroscience says that 6 seconds of pause, it takes for your amygdala to quieten down, for all the chemicals that it has released or hormones that it has released to absorb in your body. So imagine a situation. So if I have to give you a visualization, you have a pot full of mud, water, and you are stirring, you are hijacked, stirring. What we are saying is, stop stirring for 6 seconds. Don't think, don't engage, just pause. Stop stirring. And stirring here is the hijack part. You stop stirring for 6 seconds, the mud will settle down and clarity will emerge. Clear water will emerge. If we learn this, that is where emotional intelligence really starts to play out. 6 seconds. And a lot of participants say, wait, the problem here. Oh, that time, those 6 seconds is so difficult. It just seems like a lifetime. But I was just doing this, I was just doing a little exercise on my mobile with a few participants. And I was saying, okay, you are saying that 6 seconds is a lot. Okay, so can I just request all of you to just close your eyes and just breathe. Okay, so just breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and slowly breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. And now may I breathing again and breathe out. Actually, one deep breath in, 3 seconds, and one deep breath out, 3 seconds. That's all. That's all that it takes. But in the moment, it seems like a lifetime. So I've been doing this work with myself and also with some of my coaches to say, you know what, 6 seconds is not a lot. So learn to practice that one deep breath in and focus on your breathing only. Do not focus. Remember the mindfulness. Don't focus on anything else. Just focus on your breathing, the air going in and breathing out. 6 seconds, done. In 6 seconds, what happens is your amygdala, which has got hijacked, gets quietened, and your neocortex, remember the blue part of the brain, which helps you to think, which helps you to say, no, maybe right now, no, right now, maybe this is what you should say. Maybe in the moment, just keep quiet. Don't respond. Or you must respond and you must raise your voice because it looks like you're not being heard. In 6 seconds, your neocortex, or which is your thinking brain, starts to function. When the amygdala is hijacked, your thinking brain doesn't work because it short circuits your thinking brain. So, in fact, there is even an organization called 6seconds.com, and they do a lot of training on emotional intelligence. So, if there is one thing, a magic word that you want to take away from today's workshop, remember 6 seconds. And but it has to be a pause. It has to be a complete pause. So some people say, like, we have a lot of wisdom, right? Count 1 to 10 when you're angry, or count reverse 10 to 1. Or some people say, I just drink a glass of water, just to quieten me down. All of us have what we call as pause practices. We must strengthen our muscle of having a variety of pause practices. So breathing is the simplest because breathing is one way that brings us into the present immediately. I am noticing that I am angry. I am noticing that I am enraged. I am noticing that my hands are shivering. Yeah, so when you breathe, you are connected to the present. And the minute you're connected to the present, you can start to observe yourself. So when you observe yourself, this is what is happening. Some people say, I leave the room. And I'm like, okay, are you leaving the room as in a flight? Or are you leaving the room as in a choice of leaving the room? Because a lot of times we don't have the choice. Suppose there's a conversation going on. You can't leave the room, right? You can't get out of that meeting room because you're presenting something or you're an integral part of the meeting. You can't leave the room. So have a variety of pause practices that help you bring you back in the present and your amygdala to completely quieten down. So it's the amygdala, it's an internal hijacker. That hijacker also, by the way, helps you survive. It's there for a reason. Because there were some studies done where some people's studies done, or in some accidents, some people had kind of damaged their amygdalas. And those people actually walk onto a road when cars were coming because the amygdala was damaged and was not telling them, hey, run, or hey, do this, was not there to guard them. So amygdala is our friend, is our ally, but you also have to tell the ally to quieten down sometimes because you need different responses. So the fourth action that we remember is take a pause. Take a pause when you realize that you're getting hijacked. Let me go to the next one. The whole thing about intelligence. Why do we call it intelligence? Why is it intelligence? Because intelligence is what? Intelligence is being able to understand something, to read something, to problem solve, to help us take action, right? That is what intelligence. This person is very intelligent. What? He understands data, understands information, is able to process it and take decisions and move in the right direction. So that is what, can we do that with our emotions? What are emotions telling you? So remember, we said emotions are data. Emotions are data. Why? They tell us what is important to me right now. help us get in touch with our values in the moment. So I remember when I was giving that exam, like I told you, the international exam, and I was just panicking for no reason. It was my amygdala was getting hijacked. And for me to tell myself, Padmaja, you're panicking, pause, breathe in, breathe out 6 seconds. What is important right now? What is important right now? Important right now is to complete the exam in the given time. So what should you be doing? What I should be doing is stay calm. I just, because my hands were getting all wet, and my actually wipe your hands, hold your mobile properly, and start working. Emotions are data because they tell us what is important to us in the moment. And if you are listening, if you are able to go to that point where we say, okay, in this meeting, I'm presenting and somebody has said something which is, well, hurtful to me. What is that telling me? It is telling me that my value, well, is maybe competence. You're not respecting my competence. It could be respect. So what should you do? Because that's your value. Your whatever you do next has to be aligned with your own value. It's my value. Competence and respect is my value. If I am not aligned to my value, what I will do and what I have done in the past when I have not done this workshop or this entire work on emotional intelligence, I have actually said something very sarcastic, or I have shouted back, even in a meeting. And by shouting back, am I aligned with my values of respect? No. If my value is respect, by raising my voice, I am not living that value. If my value is competence, am I living my value by raising my voice? I am not. So when somebody is saying something in a meeting which is hurtful to me, I would say my need for my value for understanding is not met. Probably I would say, I think maybe there is a misunderstanding here. Can I communicate differently? Or can I hear from you again what you mean to say? Because I don't think I have got you completely. So your actions, what you do and what you say, have to be aligned with your values, because your emotions arise because some value is either met or not met. And when we have taken the pause, that pause helps us to figure out what that value is. Is that value, what am I really valuing here? Let me do something in aligned with that value. When we are hijacked, we do just the opposite. So we are, a group of people are going somewhere and I am not invited. So I feel hurt. I feel sad because my value of connection, of fun is not met. And somebody comes and, hey, Padmaja, we just forgot to call you. Please come. When I'm in a hijacked mode, I'll say, I don't want to come. And I walk against my value. I really want to go. I want to have fun. They are my friends. They're just forgotten. I mean, it's just so happened. When I'm hijacked, I actually move away from that value and say, I don't want to come. And maybe I say, I don't even, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, they're not my friends anymore. But if I'm aligned with my values, I will actually go and maybe even tell them later that, oh, I felt hurt that you didn't invite me. But I will still go because I want to. My value is fun. My value is connection. And I'm saying this example because I lived this example very recently. And I felt happy when I did that, when I actually went, when somebody forgot to invite me. And when they did later, my first reaction was to say, I'm not coming because you forgot me in the first place and I was hijacked. I went into flight. I went into withdrawal, sulking. I said, wait, no, what's my value? I want to go. I want to have fun. They are my good friends. So I chose to go, but I also then chose to tell them that I felt hurt, that, well, I felt hurt that they kind of missed me out. Getting in touch with our values is crucial because they are our values. We have to live our values. And then it becomes intelligence. Then we are saying it's data available to me, telling me something, guiding me in a particular direction. Emotions focus our attention on our values and motivate us to move toward a specific course of action where we meet with our values are met. For that, it's important to understand what our values are. Sometimes space is a value, and somebody is really micromanaging, and I realize that I'm getting suffocated. My feeling is suffocation because my need for space is not met. So if this is my value, what do I need to do in order to meet this value? Because it's my value, I have to meet it. Harmony, support. So my boss tells me, Acha, abhi ye, from tomorrow, no, you only handle it. And I go into fear because my value that time is support. So what do I do? A lot of times recognition. Recognition is a value that all of us have. Achievement, responsibility, order, authenticity. So we have, so in our work, we also encourage people to do a values test. There is a gentleman called Barrett, and he is known in the world for his outstanding work. He is the guru of values, work related to values in the world. So he runs a Barrett's value test, and if you do that, you'll get a sense of what are your core highest values in the moment. So even to be able to reach these values is not easy. So when we are hijacked, it's not easy. But even when I'm not hijacked and I have calmed down and I tell myself, what is it? What is it? It's a struggle sometimes. So we also give out an inventory of values. So what is that value? What is that value that is not getting met? That you are feeling sad, that you're feeling confused, that you're feeling grief, that you're feeling something else or embarrassed. What is that value? It's important to know, to have an emotions, to be emotionally literate, to know all the emotions for yourself, how they play out for you, and what are those values that are important for you, that drive you. Is it responsibility? Is it control? For some people, certainty. Certainty is very important. When things become uncertain, there's a panic. Is it punctuality? For some people, time. Time. 7 means 7. 7:05 is also late. Is that your value? How will you live that value in your life? Understanding. A lot of times, what I'm seeking is just understanding. Just understand what I am seeing. These are the various values that I put out here because it's important to know. And typically, before I did this work, I was pretty much clueless about my emotions. I was also clueless about my values, my emotions and my values. So to play the inner game, to understand yourself is crucial. So you can go to Barrett's test to figure out what are really your core values. And when they are met, how do you feel? You feel, happy, you may feel, delighted, you may feel comforted, you may feel, stable. And when they are not met, what do you feel? Because in order to meet your values, we have to move in a direction where we meet our values. This is the line from, again, Dr. Susan David. And she says, it's a choice. Are we managing our lives according to our values and what is important to us? Or are we simply getting carried away by the tide? She says that emotions are like weather. They are like weather. They change. They change a lot during the day, but our values don't change. Our values are rock solid. So how do you want to manage your life? Do you want to manage your life on what is rock solid in your life, according to your values, according to what's important? Or do we simply want to get carried away by the tide of maybe anger, maybe of jealousy, maybe of hostility, or maybe even of joy or happiness? Sometimes even in the momentary joy and happiness, sometimes we may be which you may regret later. So it's not just about sadness, grief. It's also about being too happy. Okay, regulate your happiness. Maybe I've been in a situation where somebody was very happy about something and came into the room full of, oh, this happened. Calm down. This is a different meeting happening here. Just regulate. So in this moment, in this meeting, your happiness or maybe your fun element needs to be regulated because it is not appropriate in that moment. It's important. So in emotional intelligence, getting to our values, understanding our emotions, getting to our values is really the core of it. When we are carried away by the tide, we are being powerless. And when we are making choices of, okay, should I do this? Should I do this? Should I do this? Then it is empowerment. When you take a pause, choices will appear to you. And the minute you have choices, अच्छा मैं अभी ये भी कर सकती हूँ, मैं अभी उनको बोल भी सकती हूँ कि boss, this is something very important. Please can you please pay attention? This is very important. Or you can just sit down. Sometimes I've done that. Just sit down in front of the boss and he says, "Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you were sitting here. I was sending a mail." You can just sit down. Or you can say something else. So the minute you have choices, you are empowered. And when there is only one way out, typically, that is when you are hijacked, and that's when you are not being intelligent. So there are people, so in my work, there are people who say that one of the participants once told me, when somebody raises their voice, I have tears in my eyes and I can't speak. The minute you have pre-programmed or patterns in your life, raised voice is equal to tears. It means you're not being intelligent. It means you're being emotionally rigid. This is the word that Susan David says. Any pre-programmed behavior, somebody does like this to me, and that just happened to me, and I'm speaking and somebody just put their hand, I would get into, no, I have to speak, let me speak, get into the fight mode. So when this is a trigger, this is what I do. This is the trigger, this is what I do. When I get hurt, I just close the door and I just am by myself. I go back to my desk and I don't talk to anybody for the rest of the day. If that is the kind of pattern or the pre-programmed behavior, that's not emotional intelligence. In emotional intelligence, you actually look at the present situation and say, okay, in this situation, probably I should do this. Remember the thing about the fuel tank is low. I have to go somewhere. Okay, I have multiple choices. I can actually take an Uber. I can call a friend who can pick me up. I can push the meeting a little bit later. Multiple choices. The minute you have multiple choices, I'm empowered. So this friend who said, not friend actually, participant who said, when somebody raises their voice, there are tears in my eyes. And so why are you telling me what happened? A junior raised their voice at me and I had tears in my eyes. And I should not feel this way. Deny. This is wrong. Should I feel this way? Should I have tears in my eyes when my junior is screaming at me or raising their voice at me? So what are you feeling? Are you accepting how you're feeling? First two steps are crucial. Take a pause, just breathe and say, now, what is the value? Value is respect. Value is professionalism. And now that your amygdala has whitened down, a lot of options will emerge for you. What should I be doing? But if I don't even know what I'm feeling, I cannot do anything. Or if I know what I'm feeling, but I am ignoring and I'm like, I should not feel this way. Why should I cry? I should not cry. And if you're denying, then it's not intelligence. So knowing what you feel is important. So I'm reminded of, I see one serial called Grey's Anatomy, which is like about all the surgeons, it's their life in the hospital. And there is one particular character called Miranda Bailey. And in one particular episode, she is doing a surgery. And during the surgery, the anesthesia starts to wear off of the patient and patient starts to come to life. And she panics and she starts to yell, and she's completely, what is this anesthesia? You're not given your... Okay, then somehow they manage the situation. They close the patient up and she comes out and she tells the guy who's giving the anesthesia, she tells him, when I am afraid, when I'm feeling fear, I shout. Okay, that's a pattern. When I feel fear, I shout. In this situation, completely inappropriate. So the minute you have not, I just, when I saw it, I was just like, oh my God, this is, I mean, I have done that. When this happens, I do this. Okay, that's not emotional intelligence. Part one, yes, she knew it was fear, it was panic. But when I panic, I shout. Shouting in an OT when your patient is actually coming back to consciousness. And they showed later that the patient actually, they need to do another surgery. And the patient says, I don't want her to touch me because, and she says, but I'm the best surgeon here. Yeah, but well, the thing is, you are not emotionally intelligent. She says, no, she looks at the junior and says, I want her to do my surgery because she did not panic. And in fact, she calmed me down and said, don't worry, we are taking care of everything. So it's our choice. And she actually says that my value is excellence. My value is control. And she's reflecting at the end of the episode. But I behaved in a manner where I was not aligned with my values. And with my behavior, there was no excellence. There was no order. There was no professionalism. And those are actually her values. So with emotional intelligence, if she had calmed down her pause, she would have realized that right now, my values are excellence, are about, she also says my value is patient care. Okay, my value is patient care, so I should not shout because that's going to unnerve her. And that episode kind of keeps playing to me when I see this, that are you carried away by the tide or are you actually aligned? Okay, what is important for me right now? If respect is important, can I also give respect? Because sometimes when respect is important for me and I don't get it, I treat people with disrespect. And I feel miserable myself because my value is respect. So that's really the choice that we are trying to see here. Important, another statement by Susan David, emotions are data. They are not directives. They are data available to you. अच्छा ये data है, sort करो, organize करो, and help you take a decision right now. What should I do? It is not a directive that when you get angry, raise your voice. Then things will get done. When you raise your voice, things will get done. So in one conversation, somebody said, when you raise your voice, it's a sign of leadership. It's a sign of authority. Okay. You are getting into a pattern. For a lot of people, raising voice is equal to you're not respecting me. So they will not do what you're telling them to do. Emotions are data to be looked at, to be considered, and to make a choice. They're not directives. They are not this emotion, this line of action is not the way it goes. Let's look at the last one, which is empathy. Right now, we only spoke about ourselves. Emotional intelligence is understanding ourselves and understanding the other person. Crucial to understand the other person. Recognize the emotion in the other person. Daniel Goleman has a beautiful quote. He says, if you're tuned out of your emotions, you will be poor at reading them in other people. So for example, there are people who say, and I have heard people who say, I don't feel fear. डर तो क्या मुझे पता ही नहीं है. Or I never feel anger, which is, by the way, not possible because all emotions are available, are there in all of us. It's just that you are denying them, you are suppressing them, or you are ignoring them. And if you're ignoring them for yourself, if I'm saying, I don't know fear, then when your team member is fearful, you will not be able to read it. What is there to be scared? Come on, just do it. And that is lack of empathy. Empathy is what? Being able to recognize that the other person is actually scared, that a person is fearful, and it is neither right or wrong. That is also important. You should not feel fear. I mean, that's the last thing to say to anybody. Don't feel this way. Don't feel sad. When somebody says, okay, what are you feeling? It's a beautiful question. And if somebody says, I'm feeling sad, what is important for you right now? What are you looking for right now? That is empathy. A lot of times, and I've tried it with my daughter. So once she was preparing, and she was preparing for a CA. Now she's chartered accountant herself. And once during her exams, she was just sitting in the drawing room, in my eyes, whiling away her time. And my first reaction was, my God, what is she doing, wasting her time? But then I quietened down and I asked her, Beta, what happened? You don't want to study? Are you not well? And she said, No, I'm fine. What happened? Are you sad? She said, No, I'm not sad. Because by then I've done emotional intelligence. So what is it? And she said, whatever I study, I forget the next day. What is the use? What is the use? And she was like, I could sense her energy going low. What are you feeling? And she thought for a long time. She said, I'm feeling helpless. I'm feeling helpless. When you're able to label your emotion, the rawness, the intensity reduces. This is science. Okay, so you're feeling helpless. So say more. No, this is what happens. So what are you really looking for? No, I really want, I'm out, I feel despair right now. So what do you want to do? I actually want that whatever I study, I should be able to remember it. So what are you doing right now? This is what I'm doing. Okay, shall we try this? Shall we try this? So when you study something, the next day, can you and I do like a question answer? Though I'm not a, I'm an HR person, but I see her books and I read it and I said, can we try that? Can we try that? Can we try that? And she said, okay, maybe I can try this as well. What are you looking for? I'm looking for certainty. And right now, everything looks completely out of control. I'm looking for control. I'm looking for certainty. Okay, let's move. Let's try it. Sometimes it's not easy. I struggle to find what am I really feeling. I actually look at that list and say, is this what I'm feeling? Is this what I'm feeling? Okay, I think this is what I'm feeling. And when you say this is what I'm feeling, oof, and then goes back to value. What is that value that I really that is not being met, and what should I do? What is that behavior to align me to that value? And the same thing we have to do with others. What are you feeling? Because people will not tell you, I am feeling this way and this is my value. So in our work, we actually do listening. We do listening practice. What do you listen for? When you're talking to the other person, listen for fact. What is being said? Okay, Abha said, I am not able to. Whatever I study today, I forget tomorrow. What else did she say? She said this, she said this. Then you listen for the feeling. A lot of times people are telling you their feeling, but you're not listening, or you are. So, what are you really feeling? And some thoughts may come out, but eventually the feeling will come out. And lastly, what are you looking for? What are you looking for? So, we say there's a 3-level listening that is called as listening with empathy or empathetic listening. Listen for fact, listen for feeling, and listen for need. Listen for the value that the other person is really expressing to you. For me, I'm looking for support right now, and they may not say it upfront to you. They may say it differently. But as you start to listen, you realize, okay, this is what they're looking for. And behaving in a manner which actually supports them. Okay, so you are okay, is it okay if I sit with you in the presentation? I won't say anything, but I'll just sit with you. And if there are difficult questions, I will answer them. So can you actually do that? Rather than saying, what is there to be scared? Just move on. That is not empathy. So empathy is crucial. Yeah, so just to wrap up, emotional intelligence is being aware and accepting of all your emotions, getting beyond patterned emotional responses. So underline patterned emotional responses, because all of us have patterns. I myself have patterns. But the minute you have patterns, you know that you're not being emotional intelligence, because they're intelligent, because their emotions are becoming directive. Whereas emotions are just supposed to be data to be processed and to be problem solved based on the situation. So being aware, accepting of all your emotions, and getting beyond patterned emotional responses. Live in the moment with a clear reading of the present circumstances. So this is important about being mindful and being present in the moment and responding appropriately. And the last underlined is act in alignment with your values. Because when we are not intelligent, we actually move away from my values. Like I said, if respect is my value, I behave in a manner where I am disrespectful. You know? If connection and love is my value, I behave in a manner where I don't show respect, I break connections, and I behave in a manner where love doesn't show, is nowhere in the picture. Uh, in fact, the opposite is in the picture. So opposite is playing out. So that can happen when one is mindful. So this is really the crux of emotional intelligence. It's work, but it's interesting work. Work to be done on on ourselves, and to make our lives, to make our health better. We don't want to deny emotions. We don't want to suppress them, because they will play out in the long run. The energies will play out. They will play out in health issues, and say, how did this happen? It happened because you have been denying and suppressing certain emotions. So I'll stop here, and wait for any questions, and then we will do a wrap up.